I've transferred your father's inheritance to my account, starting over with someone who actually understands me. That was the message I got on a Monday morning while reviewing client portfolios at my desk in Charleston. My name is Gavin Reed. I'm 43. I've been a financial planner for 17 years. She didn't just send a message. She attached screenshots. Our joint account showed 0.0, $8,300 gone. I read it once, then again, then stared at the screen. My wife Melissa was supposed to be in Sedona, some spiritual retreat about realigning her chakras and finding her authentic self. I paid for it, of course, just like I'd paid for the emotional detox weekend in Asheville, the mindfulness trip in Colorado, and that awakening intensive in California. She'd been different since my dad died 6 months ago. Colder, quieter, sharper about money. Started pushing hard to understand our finances. Wanted full access. Asked questions she never cared about before. I typed back, understood, have fun. Then I set the phone down and went back to work. Thing is, when you've worked in finance long enough, you learn to see patterns. You start recognizing red flags for what they really are. Someone who's never cared about accounts suddenly wants transparency, red flag. Asking about your dad's will before the funeral is even over, redder flag. Pushing for full access right after a 6-figure inheritance hits your account. That's not a red flag anymore. That's a goddamn siren. My dad, David Reed, was a mechanic. He owned a small shop on the edge of Somerville. Worked 14 to 16 hours a day. Saved every dime. Never splurged, never borrowed. Never asked anyone for anything. When he died, he left me everything. Not millions, but it was everything he had. And to me, that meant more than any number ever could. It was his legacy. His final promise that I'd be okay when he was gone. Melissa never liked how close we were. She'd roll her eyes when I'd go spend Sundays at his shop. Sometimes I'd just help him with the books. Sometimes we'd just sit in silence and drink coffee. But she hated it. Called me daddy's boy under her breath. Thought I didn't hear. After the funeral, she started her healing journey. Said she needed space, needed to process grief, needed retreats, lots of them, expensive ones. I should have known something was off when she kissed me goodbye at the airport. Too long, too intense. It wasn't a kiss that said, see you next week. It was a kiss that said goodbye. Now I knew why. Melissa and I had been married 8 years, met in a little coffee shop downtown when I was 35 and halfway convinced I'd die single. She was stunning. She said all the right things, said she wanted a quiet life, a good man, stability. The first few years were good. She managed a boutique, made decent money. We split expenses fairly, bought a home, talked about kids, took normal couple vacations. But something changed after year 5. She started talking about feeling spiritually unfulfilled, started attending workshops on finding your higher self, started quoting influencers who talked about toxicity and limiting beliefs. My dad noticed it before I did. She's pulling away from you, son, he told me one Sunday while we were reconciling the shop's ledger. I can see it in the way she looks at you, like you're in her way. I defended her, said she was going through a phase, said she was just figuring herself out. He didn't argue, just nodded and went back to his ledger. He was right, though. The distance started small. She stopped asking about my day, stopped caring about my clients or work drama, spent more time on her phone, started going out with friends I'd never met. The retreats escalated, from local yoga weekends to cross-country soul awakenings. And after Dad's diagnosis, they became nonstop. I need to process this energy, she'd say, when I questioned the cost. Your father's illness is disturbing my balance. I kept paying because I loved her, because I believed grief does weird things to people, because I thought being understanding mattered. But looking back, I realize I wasn't paying for her healing. I was financing her escape. My dad left behind just under $480,000. He'd saved it over 4 decades working with his hands and not spending a dime he didn't have to. Every rusted socket wrench, every late-night oil change, every backache, that money was his life's echo. And with his last breath, he said something I didn't understand at the time. People will try to take what's yours, Gavin. Friends, strangers, wives. Be smart about it. Smarter than I was. I nodded. Thought he was being paranoid. He wasn't. The night after the funeral, Melissa lay in bed, scrolling through her phone while I stared at the ceiling. Did your dad have a will? She asked casually. Like, is it official yet? What's the amount? It wasn't grief. It was curiosity wrapped in pity. It tasted like metal in my mouth. She started asking about our retirement accounts, about how joint access worked, about whether we could merge our portfolios to maximize tax efficiency. She was using my own language. She'd never cared before. I didn't say much, just nodded. I told her the accounts would stay separate for now. I said we'd sit down with a planner, maybe not me to make it fair. But while she planned her retreat to Sedona, I was setting up a Wyoming LLC. I moved every dollar of Dad's inheritance there, diversified it, wrapped it in a trust, ran it through a dozen secure vehicles with legal walls Melissa couldn't climb over. She never saw a dime, but I knew she was watching, so I baited the hook. I left exactly $8,300 in our joint savings, just enough to make her think that was it. Small enough that if it vanished, it wouldn't shake me. Big enough that it would make her feel clever. And she bit. What I didn't expect, what caught me off guard, was how fast she moved. Not even 24 hours into her retreat, she emptied the joint account. Then she went dark. No texts, no calls, nothing. She was supposed to come home Sunday night. By Tuesday, her phone was off. Her boutique job she'd quit. Her friends clueless. Even her sister had no idea where she'd gone. I knew she hadn't done it alone. That's when a name popped up in my head like a sour memory, Chase Daniels. Her cousin. A slippery legal consultant from Miami who always managed to show up at family weddings drunk and overly interested in people's net worth. He'd once asked me over dinner, "Say your wife got half your assets in a divorce. What's stopping her from walking away with all of it if she's smart?" He was joking. Or maybe not. 3 weeks before the Sedona trip, Melissa had dinner with Chase. She said it was a family catch-up. I didn't think much of it. Now I did. I ran a quiet background check. Chase wasn't a lawyer, not officially, but he posed as one for clients overseas. Panama, Belize, Dubai. He wasn't helping Melissa heal. He was helping her disappear with $500,000. So I let the silence stretch. Every day she didn't call, I added a new step to what I'd later call the recovery plan flag bank accounts for suspicious activity. Notify state financial boards preemptively. Prepare a timeline of interactions. Save texts, documents, screenshots. And one last thing. I drafted a summary of every financial move she'd made since Dad died and sent it to my own contact in the IRS's asset fraud unit, just in case. Because people like Melissa don't stop. They escalate. She finally texted me again, 3 days later. I know you're upset, but this is for the best. We both know our marriage has been over. At least now, we can move forward honestly. Honestly. That word again. The first call came 3 days later. Melissa. I let it go to voicemail. Gavin, we need to talk. I know you're angry, but ignoring me like this is childish. Can we just be adults about this? Call me. I didn't call back. I went home, made dinner, fed the cat, watched the evening news, went to bed. Routine. The second call came the next morning. Seriously, Gavin, this silent treatment is ridiculous. I took the money because it's what's best for both of us. You'll understand eventually. Still no response. The third came while I was meeting a client. My assistant knocked, said it was urgent. I stepped out. Gavin, Melissa said we have to discuss the divorce. Her voice was sharper now, rehearsed. My lawyer says we should file soon. Clean break. No fault. We'll split everything else 50-50. Let's just move on with our lives. What about the house? I asked flat. My share of the equity. Half your 401k. Oh, and spousal support. Obviously. I almost smiled. Your lawyer said that yes, he's confident, especially with all the money you've been hiding from me. Hiding, don't play dumb, Gavin. Your dad was a business owner for 40 years. He didn't leave you just $8,000. My lawyer knows how to trace assets. Now I did smile. She couldn't see it, but she felt it. You think there's more money? I know there is. And hidden assets don't stay hidden during divorce proceedings. Good, I said. You should absolutely have your lawyer investigate everything. A beat of silence. You're scaring me, she said. You're too calm. Why would I be upset? You said this was what's best for both of us. Another pause. Then she hung up. A week later, I got an official email. Meeting scheduled at a downtown office. Her lawyer would be there. She'd be there. I showed up alone. They didn't expect that. Mr. Reed, her attorney, greeted me. I'm Mitchell Grayson. I represent Melissa in this matter. Melissa sat beside him, confident. Fresh hair, new dress. The retreat had apparently improved her skin. Where's your attorney? Don't have one yet, I said. Figured I'd hear what you had to say first. They exchanged looks. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Grayson cleared his throat. Let's be direct. Our investigation has found substantial assets you haven't disclosed. Your father's estate was valued over $400,000 per probate records, yet only $8,300 appeared in your joint accounts. Where's the rest? I didn't answer. I reached into my briefcase, pulled out a folder, set it on the table. Right here. He opened it. Inside, bank statements, trust documents, LLC formation records, notarized letters, investment statements dated, filed, and legal. His face changed with every page. Melissa leaned in, squinting. What is all this? Grayson didn't respond immediately. Finally, he said, Melissa, we need to speak privately. No, she said. We agreed on full transparency. He exhaled. The $8,300 you transferred, that wasn't your husband's inheritance. That's impossible, she snapped. I saw the account. You saw what he allowed you to see, Grayson said flatly. The real inheritance never touched any joint account. Melissa's face went pale. You're lying. That's illegal. Hiding assets from a spouse is illegal. Not when the inheritance was never commingled, Grayson said. Your husband placed it into an LLC and trust within 10 days of probate. It was never community property. I watched her absorb it. The shock, the disbelief, then the fury. You set me up, she whispered. No, I said. I protected myself. There's a difference. The money I took, she said, I'll give it back. I stood up. Keep it, I said. You've earned it. Grayson wasn't done. He slid another document forward. Melissa, he said, your prenup includes a clause regarding unauthorized asset transfers. We don't have a prenup, she said, blinking. Actually, you do. He showed her. Notarized. Dated signed 8 years ago. She stared at it like it was in another language. This was house paperwork, she muttered. It was both, I said. We told you it was for the mortgage. You signed, without reading. The clause was simple. Any attempt to transfer assets without mutual consent resulted in forfeiture of all claims to marital property. This can't be legal. It is, Grayson said. And your money transfer violated it completely. Melissa turned to me. Not angry, not smug, but afraid. Gavin, we can fix this. Please. I made a mistake. I looked at her for a long time. So did I said, 8 years ago. And then I walked out. I walked out of that law office lighter than I'd felt in months. Not triumphant, not vindicated, just free. Melissa chased me to the parking lot. Gavin, wait. Please, we need to talk about this. I didn't stop. There's nothing to talk about, I said. I was confused, emotional, the retreat, everything. It made me realize things about our marriage that you wanted out. She nodded. Fine, I said. You're out. Not like this, she said. I never meant to hurt you. I turned around. You didn't hurt me, Melissa. You showed me who you really are. That's actually a gift. She was crying now. Tears that once would have wrecked me. Now they barely registered. You planned all of this, she said. The prenup. The hidden accounts. The lawyer trap. I didn't plan the betrayal, I said, but I planned for the possibility. That night, I drove to Dad's old shop. The new owner had kept the neon sign and the pegboard wall, just like he left it. But without his voice in the back room, it felt like a ghost town. I sat in the truck and thought about his last warning. People don't just take your money, son. Some of them will take your peace, and some will take your time. Don't let anyone steal your time. The next few weeks passed quietly. I changed the locks, updated all my beneficiaries, closed every joint account, forwarded her mail to her sister's place in Nashville where she'd been crashing. She called a few times. First anger, then guilt, then threats. I stayed calm, never reacted, never gave her fuel. The divorce papers arrived by mail on a Thursday. I signed them the same day. No contest, no complications. She could keep the $8 $300 and nothing else. My lawyer called a week later. She's trying to contest the prenup, he said, claims she was coerced into signing it. She doesn't have a case right, not a chance. Witnesses are alive. The notary kept records. No signs of duress. And her unauthorized transfer actually strengthens your position. How long until its final 6 months? Maybe less if she gives up. She did, eventually. But not because she saw reason. Because she ran out of backup. Twist incoming. The call came on a humid August afternoon while I was eating lunch at my desk. Her name flashed across the screen. I almost declined, but something made me answer. Her voice was different. Gavin, I need help. I stayed silent. Derek left me, she said. He took everything. What money? The $8 or $300? Plus savings. Plus money I borrowed from my sister. How much? $37,000. I set my sandwich down. You mortgaged your sister's house? He said it was for his spiritual consulting startup. He had a website, clients, a plan. I believed him. Melissa, why are you calling me? Because my sister won't speak to me. Derek disappeared. His number's dead. The police say there's nothing they can do. So, you want what exactly? I need a loan. Just enough to pay back my sister. She'll lose her house. I'll lose everything. I paused. Thought about it. Long and hard. No. Please, Gavin. I know I hurt you, but you didn't just hurt me. You tried to ruin me. You stole from me. You schemed with your cousin. You lied about your feelings, your trips, your marriage. You risked your sister's home for a man you met at a retreat. I was lost, confused. No, you were selfish. And now you get to live with that. So that's it. You're just going to let me lose everything, Melissa. You already lost everything that mattered. The rest, just details. And I hung up. 2 years have passed since that call. I haven't heard from Melissa since. Not directly, anyway. Mutual friends say she moved back in with her parents outside Knoxville. Her sister lost the house foreclosed. They're not speaking. Melissa filed for bankruptcy. Last I heard, she works retail at a strip mall barely making rent. Derek, the life coach, never resurfaced, probably running the same scam on another woman in another zip code. People like him don't vanish. They just molt shedding one name, one persona, one lie, and growing another. As for me, I sold the house. Didn't need all that space. Bought a smaller place out by Somerville. Quieter. Closer to Dad's old shop. Garage with enough room for a workbench. A patch of green I call a yard. It's mine. I sleep better here. The inheritance. It's grown. Steadily. I diversified like I always preach to clients. Real estate. Index funds. Some private lending. Nothing flashy. But every time I log in and see that balance, I remember what it took to protect it and what it meant to him. I've been doing more financial literacy work lately. Free seminars, online workshops, helping regular folks see the red flags before they cost everything. There's something satisfying about it, almost like redemption, not just for me, but for the people I couldn't help before. The clients who came too late, the couples already broken, the retirees already cleaned out. And then there's Grace. Met her at a community finance event. She's a middle school teacher. Divorced. 2 kids, both polite and curious. We take things slow. We laugh a lot. She asks smart questions when I talk about estate law and prenups and irrevocable trusts. She jokes that she'll trust but verify. She gets it. She knows about Melissa, about everything, and she still comes back for coffee. Sometimes I wonder, could I have saved my marriage? Could I have been more open, more vulnerable, more trusting? But then I remember that text, the cruelty in how casually she typed it, the months of manipulation that preceded it, the quiet orchestration of betrayal. No, some people aren't just broken. They're dangerous, with access. I visited Dad's grave again last March. Didn't bring flowers. Didn't need to. Just stood under that oak tree and said, "You were right about her. Thanks for teaching me how to be smart about it." The wind rustled a few leaves. Coincidence, maybe. Didn't matter. I walked back to my truck and drove home. A real home with peace. Melissa started over with someone who understood her, and I did the same, just smarter.